Hi, good morning, everybody. Happy race day. And thank you, as always, for still tuning into these videos and checking out our content, checking out our spreadsheet, interacting with us, liking the video, commenting, all that good stuff. I know it's hard. I know it drops off quite a bit when we get to the NFL season. So I always appreciate this part of the schedule. But we got a 1.5 intermediate track today. It is another round of the playoffs. It's the first race of this round. So we got Texas today. Not usually everyone's favorite mile-and-a-half track, but nonetheless, there's still a DFS slate, still a takedown up for grabs. Had a really good Xfinity race yesterday. Got a couple takedowns myself. So hopefully we keep that momentum going today. At the top range, you got Larson, Hamlin, Byron, and Truex. Those four drivers are going to be my priority today. I think it really comes down to, what combination of these drivers starting in the teens end up working with the drivers that start in the front row. I'm going to build different types of lines, different types of, combinations, different pairings with these types of drivers, and hopefully we can land on who that early lap leader is going to be. And then I'm anticipating a lot of these top 10K drivers here are going to move their way forward throughout the field. We're going to see them up front contending at some point in this race. But the big question is, which ones? If I had to pick two, I would say Larson and Hamlin are probably my favorite of the two, just based off of practice times, based off of just all the data that we're looking at, the 1.5 intermediate tracks. So they're pretty much the same play. They start right next to each other. Their practice times basically look identical. Their pricing is, pretty much the same as well. So it's going to be difficult to get both of them into your line, but I think it's still doable depending on how the rest of your line shakes out. So Larson and Hamlin are going to be my two highest owned drivers probably. And then if you're looking for some good pivot options, they're still going to be high owned, but I think Byron and Truex cannot be ignored either. Truex had a really bad first round in the playoffs, but luckily for him, that resets. It's a fresh round. He has a ton of points. Again, he's in a good situation. And all these drivers gives you some place differential upside as well. Byron's kind of the wild card. He didn't run nearly as many laps as Hamlin, Larson, or Truex did, but the laps that he did run, he was very fast. And starting 18th, he gives you the most place differential upside of any of the four drivers there. So for me, I'm going to have at least two of these four drivers in all of my lines. It's just trying to figure out, the combination of the two that are going to work out. Then you get down to Reddick. I'm just not getting to Reddick a ton today. I just think the upside of Truex, Byron, Hamlin, Larson is just so much greater than Reddick. I don't think Reddick is a bad play by any means. You're just paying a lot for Tyler Reddick, and I don't know if he can get up there to get you fast laps. I don't know if he can get out front, give you laps led. Christopher Bell is interesting. I just looking at 1.5 history or 1.5 data, it suggests that, hey, he's going to be good. But just looking at the data this weekend, this team has struggled a little bit. They were able to turn around for qualifying. I'm not getting to him a ton today. So I might miss there. I might be wrong. But just based off the practice data, I'm not too confident in Christopher Bell. Excuse me. Kyle Busch, I think, is a good GPP option. I don't know how much ownership he's going to have. He had really good speed in practice, and with his starting spot in 7th as well, a lot of people are not going to get to him. They're going to pay up for these 10K, 11K drivers. They're going to get these place differential plays of Blaney, Elliott, Logano, and then they're probably going to look at some type of front row driver, and then round out the rest of the line with punts. So I like Kyle Busch today for tournaments. Not going to have a ton of him, but I'm definitely going to sprinkle him into lines just based off of his speed that he showed. Ryan Blaney has really good track history at Texas. I think he's going to carry some ownership. I think Chase Elliott's going to carry some ownership as well. Both of them give you some place differential upside. It's pretty easy to pair them with one of your 10K or 11K drivers. And maybe you get lucky and you say, hey, I'm only going to play one of these, 4 10K drivers. I'm going to play Larson. I'm going to play Bubba Wallace. Then I'm play Chase, Elliott and or Ryan Blaney. I can see justification for those types of lines as well. Keselowski, Buescher, and Wallace are interesting because they're all priced right next to each other, and they all, of course, start 1, 2, 3. I'm going to have the most Bubba Wallace of this combination. I just think his 1.5 intermediate data is a lot stronger than RFK. RFK is running really well right now. I would probably prioritize Buescher over Keselowski, but a lot of people are probably going to be doing the same thing as well. So Keselowski is probably going to be the lowest owned of the three just because of his price, where he starts. Christopher Buescher is probably, I don't know, probably going to be the second highest owned of these two drivers here. And Bubba Wallace will probably be the highest owned just because he starts on the pole in his price. But really easy to get any of those three drivers in your line as your early lap leader. And again, your hope is that they lead the bulk of stage one, and then your kind of 10K plays that we anticipate kind of taking over this race will be there towards the end. Chastain's pretty much in the same exact boat that Kyle Busch is. I don't think a lot of people are going to play him. He's a lot cheaper than Kyle Busch, more of a GPP option starting fifth. Maybe he's able to get out front and lead you some laps, and I think he would be a pretty low-owned tournament play. Kevin Harvick, I'm just not too excited about today. Eliminated from the playoffs. SHR as a whole does not run great on 1.5, so much rather just pay down for Joey Logano. Now, Penske hasn't been running great either, but Logano did have some pretty good times in practice, which is encouraging to see. Starts 20th. I know they're eliminated from the playoffs as well, but for $8,100, it's also a nice pivot option off of the Blaney and Elliott chalk that you're really paying up for those place differential plays, where you can pay down for Logano. It doesn't give you as much place differential, but it's a similar, type of play. The 7K range, I don't really have a ton of. Gibbs starts a little bit too far forward for me. Bowman just has not been good this season ever since coming back from his injury. Suarez is kind of in the same boat. He has not been good either. Eric Jones has been running better, but $7,300 for a Legacy Motor Club machine starting 12th is going to be hard, but based off of his practice times, I think you could make an argument for him in tournaments. Same with Eric Almirola if you're looking for, maybe to take a fly, a risk on a type of play here. I could see SHR and Eric Almirola being that type of option. Again, SHR and this team haven't been great, but at least his practice times were a lot better than all the other SHR cars. So that's encouraging. Stenhouse, I think, is pretty much the same play as Almirola. Usually runs pretty well at these big tracks. Not getting the Austin Dillon or AJ Allmendinger today. Just I think AJ Allmendinger falls backwards. I think Austin Dillon stays around where he qualifies. Hocevar is interesting. I think you can make an argument for him. I probably would rather play Hocevar over Eric Jones, believe it or not, just because of his pricing, because of where he starts, and his practice times are pretty good. Hocevar has given this team a little bit of a spark. It seems like both cars have been running better since Hocevar got in there. But my favorite play in this range is going to be Michael McDowell. Now, McDowell is not in the playoffs anymore, but hopefully this car was prepared as if he was going to be a playoff driver continuing on. His speed looks very good in practice, decent qualifying effort, but $6,300 for a driver that I anticipate being able to stay inside the top 15 today. I'm gonna like that upside. And I don't know how high owned he's going to be. I think a lot of people might just chase the place differential plays of Briscoe and or Preece, but their times were very slow. I'd rather play Almirola over both of them just based off practice times. Then you get down to the punt range here. You're probably going to need at least one of these plays, maybe two of these plays in your lines. My favorite punt plays would be Haley and LaJoy, mainly just based off of finishing potential, the practice times that they showed where they start. Austin Cindric, kind of in the same boat as Briscoe and Preece, starts deep, likely finishes deep based off of his practice times. Harrison Burton's probably going to carry some ownership, but again, I'm going to try to find different points in my line to get different. I don't really feel confident playing Harrison Burton based off of his practice times. He was extremely slow. Zane Smith is in the 38 machine this weekend, so he gets, kicks Todd Gilliland basically out of that ride. I don't mind him just based off of his equipment upside, but again, he was slow. Todd Gilliland's in the Rick Ware machine, starts dead last, but he was very slow. He's going to need Rex to wreck out. I don't anticipate this race having nearly as many cautions as the Xfinity race did. But the lowest on the slate I would go is JJ Yaley. His times are actually decent. He was, 29th quickest. So if he's able to duplicate that type of speed, and then we anticipate, maybe a handful of drivers wreck out, it's not impossible to give JJ Yaley, 27th, 28th, finish today. For $5,000, it really allows you to jam in, some of the stud plays. So I really like this slate. I think it's pretty wide open. There's a lot of different ways you can build lines. I always like when the slate kind of falls this way, because it's a lot of fun, to put lines together. But hopefully this has been helpful for you guys. If it has, dropping a like on the video is always appreciated. Subscribing if you're new, or if you watch these videos and you haven't, only takes a second. And best of luck today, and we'll catch you next week.